Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack, Worley III.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, patriots and preppers. I'm Mack, Worley III, and this is On the Move, the show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to join the conversation today, please give us a call at 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. Don't forget to check us out at onthemoveshow.com, here at blogtalkradio.com/onthemoveshow, facebook.com/onthemoveshow, youtube.com/onthemoveshow, and twitter.com/onthemoveshow. You can also check us out on our store by clicking the shop link on the homepage of onthemoveshow.com. We have hundreds of products for sale on there, ranging from freeze-dried food, to gear, to show merchandise, to clothes, to drinkware, to bumper stickers, and so much more. Your purchases will help make On the Move bigger and better. Thank you for your support. Today is December 22nd, and today's episode is titled Duck Dynasty Drama, Phil Robertson Suspended. Today's going to be a really good show. We're going to be covering many topics that have been in the news lately. We'll be talking about, of course, the drama surrounding the reality TV show Duck Dynasty, how a Republican out of Georgia wants to change the free lunch system in our schools, the National Defense Authorization Act, and the situation in Iran. We're going to be talking about how there are a bunch of controversies in the news and how they may be distracting us from the things that we should be paying attention to. We're also going to be talking about, taking listener calls and reading emails. So the very first segment of the show today is called Today in History. This is something that I like to do at the beginning of every show here, and it's something I'm going to continue to do. So first things first here. According to Wikipedia, 69 years ago today, on December 22nd, 1944, during the World War II's the Battle of the Bulge, while besieged by a far larger force of Germans, U.S. Brigadier General Anthony C. McAuliffe was sent the following ultimatum. To the USA commander of the encircled town of Bastogne, the fortune of the war is changing. This time, the USA forces in and near Bastogne have been encircled by a strong German armored unit. More German armored units have crossed the river. There is only one possibility to save the encircled USA troops from total annihilation. That is the honorable surrender of the encircled town. In order to think it over, a term of 2 hours will be granted, beginning with the presentation of this note. If this proposal should be rejected, 1 German artillery corps and 6 heavy AA battalions are ready to annihilate the USA troops in and near Bastogne. The order for firing will be given immediately after the 2-hour term. All serious civilian losses caused by this artillery fire would not correspond with the well-known American humanity. Signed, the German commander. Now keep that in mind. This is a armed force, a military of a country, saying that another country has a well-known humanity, implying that this country doesn't. So that's pretty unbelievable that this was going on 69 years ago today. That's pretty crazy. But the craziest part is yet to come. According to various parts from those present, when McAuliffe was given the German message, he read it, he crumpled it into a ball. He then threw it into a wastebasket and muttered the saying, "Ah, nuts." The officers in McAuliffe's command post were trying and failing to come up with suitable language for an official reply when Lieutenant Colonel Harry Kinnard suggested that McAuliffe's first response summed up the situation pretty well, and the others agreed. The official reply was typed and delivered by Colonel Joseph Harper, commander of the 327th Glider Infantry, to the German delegation. It read as follows. To the German commander, nuts, all capital letters, and explanation point. It was signed the American commander. So he replies, nuts. The German major appeared confused and asked the American commander, Harper, what the message meant. Harper said, in plain English, go to hell. The choice of nuts was typical for McAuliffe. An aide at the time recalled that General McAuliffe was the only general he ever knew who did not use profane language. Nuts was part of his normal vocabulary. So that is a pretty epic day. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you history buffs out there have kind of heard this story. I had no idea up until I looked it up, and it was pretty cool. Just so happened to fall on that day. So in the honor of General McAuliffe, we're going to say nuts. Anyway, moving on. We have a new segment of the show today that we're starting, and we are calling it the Weekly Defender.
And now it's time for the Weekly Defender. You have the right to defend your life, the right to defend your family, and the right to defend your freedom.
All right. In this segment, we will be reporting armed citizens in the news who have used their firearms to defend their family, property, and themselves. Today's Weekly Defenders we found in the September 2013 issue of the NRA magazine's America's First Freedom. Let's start this one off here. On June 28, 2013, the Advertiser Gleam reported that in Danville, Alabama, Jessica Grayson was driving behind a pickup when the pickup suddenly stopped in front of her, blocking her lane. A man exited the truck and approached Grayson's vehicle. He began beating on the window and grabbing at the door handle in an attempt to get in. Jessica quickly pulled out her Colt .357 revolver. She says, "I pointed my gun at him and told him to step away from my car or I would shoot him." The assailant immediately backed away from her vehicle and left. You hear a lot of stories about guns being used in crime, but they prevent crime every day too, Grayson said. What if I hadn't had my gun that day? On June 5th, 2013, WISTV.com reported that in Richland County, South Carolina, another event happened. A woman and her son were driving around 11:30 a.m. when a vehicle cut them off and abruptly stopped in front of them. Very similar situation. A man exited the vehicle, pulled the woman from the front of her vehicle, and held a knife to her throat. When the woman's son got out of the car to confront his mother's attacker, he was reportedly punched in the face. A passerby witnessed the attack and stopped to intervene with his .40 caliber handgun. When the suspect saw the firearm, he quickly returned to his vehicle and drove off. That again sounds very familiar. It sounds just like the last one that we heard. The Good Samaritan who had stopped to help was able to get the attacker's license plate and was later resulted in the arrest of the attacker. He was charged with assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature, and assault and third-degree battery. Okay, so I've previously reported this. I believe it was the last podcast. According to a national survey conducted by Gary Kleck, who is a Florida State University criminologist, firearms are used approximately 2 million times a year in self-defense. You have a right to defend yourself, and you have a right to defend your life, your family, and you have a right to defend your freedom. We at On The Move, we support your rights. If you have a story about how you were lawfully defending yourself, or you would like to comment on one of these, or if you have another one that you've heard in the news, we'd like to hear from you. Give us a call. The number is 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. Again, that's onthemoveshow@gmail.com. Okay, so we are adding a whole bunch of new segments today, and I just want to clarify for you all. Right now I'm kind of experimenting with the audio on this. You guys are going through this experiment with me. So we're adding segments. I'm not sure how it's going to sound on your guys' end. It may come out boggled. If it does, shoot me an email. Let me know if it's not sounding right. I can lower or increase the volume. But this is new to me as it is to you, I'm sure. So anyway. The next segment we have is called the Mack Attack.
It's time for the Mack Attack!
Hi. In this segment, great just so we're going to discuss the definition of Phil Robertson from the hit reality TV show Duck Dynasty. I just want to clarify first that I wasn't even going to talk about this stuff today. The show. I'm not a watcher of Duck Dynasty. I didn't even really know what it was up until Ted Cruz talked about it in his filibuster. So, I thought to myself, why do I care about what happens to a reality TV star? There's a lot more important things out there that I need to be worried about, such as the National Defense Authorization Act, the infringement of our rights, these things. I kind of consider this a fluff piece, and, you may too. And, it actually may be. It may be a fluff piece. It may be a distraction. But that remains to be seen. We don't know. Regardless, according to the facts, let me give you a quick background on what happened. Because, as usual, there's more to the situation than I first realized. And so, being that I don't even watch the show and I don't have cable, I didn't know anything about this. So let me give you a quick background, like I said, on what happened first, in case you hadn't heard. Phil Robertson, the patriarch of Duck Dynasty, the family that's on Duck Dynasty, he was interviewed by GQ magazine. In this interview, he was discussing his religious beliefs, and the topic of sin came up. This is where the controversy happened. This is what got everybody upset. He said, "Don't be deceived," and this is a quote directly from him. "Don't be deceived. Neither the adulterers, the idolaters, the male prostitutes, the homosexual offenders, the greedy, the drunkards, the slanderers, the swindlers, they won't inherit the kingdom of God. Don't deceive yourself. It's not right." He went on to say, "It seems to me a vagina as a man would be more desirable than a man's anus. That's just me. I'm just thinking there's more there. She's got more to offer. I mean, come on, dudes. You know what I'm saying? But hey, sin, it's illogical, man. It's just not logical." Okay, so this statement got the gay community all fired up. And, it may seem like he's really attacking somebody there. I'm not sure what your take is on it. But there's more to the story. So let's continue. In response to this interview, A&E indefinitely suspended Phil from the show Duck Dynasty. They said, and this is their statement, "We are extremely disappointed to have read Phil Robertson's comments in GQ, which are based on his own personal beliefs and are not reflected in the series Duck Dynasty. His personal views in no way reflect those of A&E Networks, who have always been strong supporters and champions of the LGBT, lesbian, gay, I'm assuming bisexual, transsexual community. The network has placed Phil under hiatus from filming indefinitely." Okay. Also, we have Cracker Barrel. They are a restaurant. If you haven't heard of them, they're basically like a kind of like a country theme restaurant. So, but anyway, Cracker Barrel, they had some Duck Dynasty merchandise. They've actually pulled Phil's likeness from their shelves. They had some Duck Commander stuff, and I don't know if it was the Duck Commander or Duck Dynasty merchandise that they pulled. I heard that it was the Duck Dynasty merchandise, which gives a credit or gives money to A&E. But the Duck Commander stuff, that gives money to the Robertsons. Anyway, they removed his likeness everywhere in an attempt not to offend anyone. Now, let me first just say, who goes to country-oriented restaurants? Would you say the gay community is coming out in droves to go to country-oriented restaurants? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking. That's a question. I'm guessing not. That's my guess. So who would you be offending by removing that or not removing it? It would appear that they have done more harm to their brand than good by removing that, because they've offended a lot of people that look at this as an affront to Christianity and an attack on Christianity. For the record, being a conservative libertarian myself, I actually support gay rights because I support human rights. In this case, though, I don't support how A&E or the LGBT community has reacted. So now that you have the backstory, let's break this down. I want to go part by part on this, and we'll talk about what their reaction was and why I don't feel that it was the correct thing to do. So let's break this down. All right, so in the first part of the statement, Phil Robertson was paraphrasing the New Testament of the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 11, and that reads, "Do you not know that wrongdoers will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterators, nor men who have sex with men, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor slanderers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. And that is what some of you are. But you were washed, you were sanctified, you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and by the Spirit of God, of our God." Okay, so Phil wasn't spouting hate speech. He was literally quoting from the Bible and then discussing his sexual preference right after that. So not only does Phil have a right of free speech and can say whatever he wants, something the LGBT community would do well to remember instead of becoming the speech police, but he also has the right to practice and believe whatever religion he wants. The part you are not hearing of this is before Phil said those statements. He also said, "The Robertson family really believes strongly that if the human race loved each other and they loved God, they would just be better off. We ought to just be repentant, turn to God, and let's get on with it, and everything will turn around." Does that sound like hate speech to you? Look, I'm not even talking about the religious beliefs on this. I'm not trying to push Christianity here or push the Bible or whatever. What I'm saying is that you have a freedom of religion. You can worship any God that you choose, any way that you choose, as long as you're not infringing on anyone's rights. Now, he simply stated that he prefers vagina over a man's anus. That's stating his sexual orientation. He also quoted directly from the Bible. People were saying that he compared the gays or the gay community to swindlers and the greedy drunkards and thieves and all these other things. But that wasn't his comparison. He wasn't making that at all, and you can't really make that comparison because he was quoting from the Bible. I mean, unless you're saying that the Bible was comparing those things, in which case that's a topic for another day. So how is this hate speech? Okay, I keep hearing people say that A&E had the right to fire Phil because it's their network and they have a right to protect their brand. I can see the argument, and at first I kind of thought the same thing. However, people do have a right to respond, and they are alienating their actual viewers when they are doing this. There's boycotts already popping up all around, but we'll get to that in a second. Let me explain to you why A&E actually didn't have the legal right to fire Phil. And Phil actually has a pretty decent lawsuit on his hands if he was so inclined. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits, which, by the way, before I get into what it prohibits, let me just specify here that the 1964 Act was actually, or the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was actually fought tooth and nail by Democrats. So an act that's giving, equal rights for everyone, it was actually fought tooth and nail by Democrats. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, we'll go on. The act prohibits discrimination by covered employers on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Title VII applies to and covers an employer who has 15 or more employees for each working day in each of 20 or more calendar weeks in the current or preceding calendar year. Title VII also prohibits discrimination against an individual because of his or her association with another individual of particular race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Okay, so that's twice. You can't be discriminated on because of your religion or discriminated on because of your association with someone else's religion. So again, A&E fired Phil because he expressed both his religious beliefs and his sexual orientation. They literally violated his free speech and his freedom of religion, and they also discriminated against him by voicing his sexual preferences. So, that's a clear violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. What makes this situation even worse and kind of hilarious is they actually hurt their brand more than they helped. A&E ratings have been plummeting as supporters of Phil have boycotted A&E. They have successfully alienated the people who have actually tuned in every week to watch the show. Just like what I was saying about Cracker Barrel, did they think that the gay community is out there watching Duck Dynasty? A show that's talking about country family with country Christian values. No, probably not. I'm willing to put it out there that not very many people in the gay community are watching Duck Dynasty. I highly doubt that it's a hit in the gay community, but perhaps I'm wrong. But that seems to be the wrong demographic for them to cater to. So A&E has decided to cater to a vocal minority, and mark my words, they're going to be paying for this decision for a long time. If I was the rest of the Robertson family, I would come out and say the exact same things in support of my father, Phil. That way they would have no choice but to suspend us all, and we would be out of our contract, and then we would just move to another network. I happen to know for a fact that the Robertson family has already got offers from multiple networks. I know for a fact that Glenn Beck's network, The Blaze, has already offered them a home there. And it honestly would not surprise me if A&E just lost their money ticket, because Duck Dynasty is one of the best shows that they have out right now. The only thing they have that's in comparison is we can watch Hoarders or Intervention on A&E. So we can watch tweakers get talked to and people who have mental disorders pile things up in their house. So it's really sad that this happened this way. And they could have just released a statement if they disagreed with what Phil said. They could have just released a statement saying that they don't feel that way and that they don't support what he said. But they didn't have to go and fire him and violate his rights and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So anyway, with that said, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. I appreciate y'all hanging with me, and I'll be back in about a minute 30.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
All right, we're back. So I was just informed by my producer that the first 15 minutes of the audio quality haven't been very good, and that the clips here are not really coming over very well, and that the quality's not really that great. So I want to apologize for that first. And like I said, this is an experiment here. We're just trying to make it better. I'll spend more time throughout the week making sure that the audio clips are better quality. So if you have any issues with it, I really apologize. And yeah, we're going to press on. So when we first left here, we were talking about what was going on in Duck Dynasty and the controversy surrounding what Phil Robertson had said. What I would like to say here is that if the gay community expects the rest of the world to be socially tolerant of their lifestyles, they must in turn be socially tolerant of views that oppose their own. Calling for someone to be fired after speaking their religious beliefs and sexual preference stands in direct opposition to what they actually want for themselves. Can you actually imagine if the situation was reversed? You know, if a gay man had came out and talked about how Christianity was wrong and how he preferred a man's anus over a woman's vagina, do you think that there would be some kind of outrage? No. No, there wouldn't be any outrage because there's a double standard. We aren't allowed to talk about how Christianity and being gay are diametrically opposing ways of life. The gay community could say we are clinging to our Bibles, guns, and vaginas, but no one would even care. You know, it doesn't offend us like it does them. You know, they have the speech police. You know, we may acknowledge that they said it, but we certainly don't have the media presence to turn that into a controversy. And not only that, I don't think it's even something that would offend most people. Most people would just be like, oh, whatever, you know. I don't think that anyone would care. Maybe I'm wrong, but reverse it, and all of a sudden there's outrage. You know, it's very likely that this whole thing was actually concocted up anyway to stir up ratings. You know, but my thoughts are not so much on Phil, but it's about those calling for his head. You know, I've said it over and over again. The answer to speech we don't like is not censorship. It's more speech, debate. If you actually succeed in silencing someone's voice, you're only creating precedents for your voice to be silenced as well. We must stand up for everyone's right of free speech, even if we don't agree with what they're saying. As Phil said, hate the sin, but love the sinner. Anyway, what do you think? I want to hear what you have to say on this. Give us a call. The number is 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986. Or you can email me at onthemoveshow@gmail.com and let me know what you have to say. Okay, so one more important note here that I would just like to point out in regards to the whole Duck Dynasty controversy, okay? The Democrats have been forcing this awful deal with Iran down our throats recently. This deal is spectacularly bad for us, okay? But I'll get to that in a minute. Regardless, the Democrats have been forcing this awful deal with Iran down our throats, and if the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community really cared about gay rights, why aren't they opposing this deal with Iran? Iran is one of the worst places in the world in regards to gay rights. They publicly execute gay men after their first gay offense. I'm using quotey fingers. And women get 100 lashes after their third gay offense. And on the fourth one, they're executed as well. You know, the whole idea that there's a different punishment for, you know, having a gay offense, quotey fingers again, is different between men and women is hilarious. You know, when they're like, hey, you know, you men, you can't do that at all, you know, or we'll kill you. That's it, you know. But with women, they have absolutely no problem with you, you know, doing it 2 times. You know, on the third offense, though, you know, we're gonna stop you there. You can't do that. On the fourth one, hey, all right, what's going on with you? You're done. We got to take you out. But 2 times is okay. One okay, 2 okay, 3 hey, come on, stop it, and 4 you're done. So, you know, and Iranian officials are actually on record stating that the gay phenomenon, this is what they're calling it, the gay phenomenon does not exist in Iran. They are actually saying that Iran does not have any gays, but yet they're on record, and there's public record of them executing gays. And they're not calling it the, you know, execution of gays. They're saying that they committed the crime of sodomy. So, I mean, this is the government that we're dealing with. So, why are we actually like negotiating with them on if that's actually going on? And here, look, if you don't believe me, listen to this news report on how the gay community is treated in Iran.
Human Rights Watch has attacked Iran for punishing gays and lesbians with the death penalty. The New York-based group said it found evidence of torture and arbitrary detentions. Researchers interviewed 125 Iranian gays for the report. Iran is one of the 7 countries in the world that unfortunately punishes homosexuality with execution. Homosexuals face similar problems across the whole region, but the laws and regulations in Iran are much more strict. Under Iranian law, same-sex intercourse between two men is punishable by death. For women, the penalty is 100 lashes for the first 3 offences and the death penalty for the 4th. Human Rights Watch says the convictions are often based on forced confessions.
So we have the gay community in Iran being slaughtered just for being gay. And we are negotiating with these people. And, you know, to me, I would think that any negotiation whatsoever by, you know, our administration, anybody, would be highly fought by the LGBT community, but I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if you guys have. If you have, give us a call. The number is 619-924-0986, 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com, and I'll read your email live. That's a good way to do it if you're also a little bit shy about calling in here. You know, I won't, if you don't want me to, I won't announce your name or whatever, so that'd be a good way to talk without having to call in. So anyway, so why are the Democrats willing to negotiate with the people who are executing gays? This is a bad deal to begin with, like I said, considering that it actually acknowledges Iran has a right to continue refining uranium, you know, which means that they're going to get a bomb. This is something that we've been trying so hard not to let them get. We've sanctioned them down so that they couldn't get a bomb. We could actually punish them for trying to get a bomb through these sanctions. And, you know, on top of which, we're going to be relieving, with this deal, we're going to relieve some of these sanctions, which is going to give them billions of dollars that they can use towards getting a bomb. So why is Obama so willing to negotiate with Iran? You know, they're literally killing the gay community, which he supposedly is an advocate for. So Obama and his administration are on record saying that they will not negotiate with Republicans during the shutdown. Wait a minute, hold on. You'll negotiate with Iran, but you won't negotiate with Republicans? I don't get it. You're supposed to be an advocate for the gay community, but you won't negotiate with the Republicans, but you're totally willing to negotiate with Iran. Does that make sense to you? It sure doesn't make any sense to me. So here, I actually have a clip here of Obama, saying how he will not negotiate with the Republicans.
What I haven't been willing to negotiate, and I will not negotiate, is on the debt ceiling.
The president has done that in the past, and you've done it in the past.
No. George, if you take a look, what has never happened in the past was the notion that in exchange for fulfilling the full faith and credit of the United States, that we are wiping away, let's say, major legislation like the health care bill.
So you're not open to any changes in Obamacare?
That's never happened before. And when it comes to budgets, we've never had a situation in which a party said that, unless we get our way 100%, then we're going to let the United States default.
And that's why I will not negotiate on anything when it comes to the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
But we will not negotiate over the basic responsibility of Congress to do its job, which is to pay the bills incurred by the United States.
Okay, so that last one was Jay Carney. That wasn't Obama, just to clarify. But Jay Carney is the press secretary, I believe, of the White House. So he's the one that gives all the official speeches and stuff like that when Obama can't be there. So anyway, these are all people from his administration. That's a person from his administration. That's him coming from the horse's mouth that he won't negotiate. But like I said, he will negotiate with Iran, who's trying to get a nuclear bomb. And they've already said that they will bomb like the previous administration, which there is really no change here. One thing that Iran is doing is they like to show one face to us, and then they go home and they talk crap about us, about how they want to bomb us in Israel. They have referred to Israel as Little Satan, and that we are the big Satan. And, one of the things about Iran is that they are so radical, at least the sections that have power and control over the government, these are so radical that, me being a libertarian, I believe in a non-aggression kind of stance. We need to be non-interventionist and not affect everyone else and not try to be the world police. But the problem with that, with Iran, is that these guys actually pose a threat to us. These guys are seriously a danger if they get that bomb. They have said on the record that they will use a nuclear bomb if they get it when they're talking to each other. But then when they're talking to us, no, we're not trying to start anything with you guys. You know what? I take people for what they say and do, and these people have said that they will use the bomb. It's a really big threat to us. There is no mutually assured destruction because one of the things that they believe is that in order for their God to return, from my interpretation and my understanding of it, perhaps I'm wrong. If I am, give me a call and let me know that I'm wrong and correct me. But from what I've understood in the research that I've done, they believe that their God, I can't remember what the guy's called now, but he's supposed to come back when the world is on fire. So one of the things that I believe the last president, Akbar Ahmadinejad, one of his tenets that he actually got elected for was these two things that he wanted to do. He wanted to destroy big Satan and little Satan. Big Satan is us, little Satan is Israel, and he wanted to hasten the return of the fifth Imam. That's what it was. Hasten the return of the fifth Imam. And by hastening the return of the fifth Imam, the lore is that the fifth Imam will only return when the world is on fire, and that anyway, the fifth Imam is basically like their end of days kind of events. Like it's like their version of Revelations, except in their version of Revelations, everything is awesome for them, and they're like getting revenge on the infidels and stuff like that. So. Now, I'm not trying to get all Islamophobic here. I have no problem with the Islam religion. I do have a major issue with the Islams out there, the Muslims out there that want to kill me and other Americans. But again, I'm not out here to bash the Muslim religion. What I am saying is that there is a section of it that is in power in Iran, and they are a major problem and a threat to national security. If they get the bomb, they want to hasten the return of the fifth Imam. What better way to speed up the world getting on fire than to have nuclear weapons? How does that not pose a threat? Why are we negotiating with these people? Why isn't the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transsexual communities like speaking out against the violence of the Iranians and fighting like crazy the Democrats who are supporting this bill that's actually negotiating with them? How in the world can they justify negotiating with these people when they're still doing this to the gay community? Why in the world are we actually negotiating with them and saying that they actually, we are acknowledging that they have a right to refine uranium? This is not helpful to us. We are going to pay the price as a country if we don't wake up and take notice of what's going on. This is really important, and you all need to be paying attention. I know it's close to the holidays, and it's really easy for us to let this go. But you have to speak up, stand up, and do something about this. Contact your senators or congressmen. It's important that you let them know to oppose this, because they're not going to do it on their own. This is a partisan issue. If you live in a blue state, your Democrats just going to vote down the party line. But if they start getting enough opposition and enough people telling them, no, not today, you're not doing this one, and we actually hold them accountable, then and only then will we have a chance of fighting this. Anyway, at this point, we're going to take another quick break. I really appreciate you all sticking with me, and I will be right back.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, T-O-S-H-A, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
All right, we're back. I appreciate you guys sticking with us. If you would like to call into the show, the number is 619-924-0986, 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. Okay, so what I would like to quickly say, and just to point out here, this is a show that I'm the host of, but this is your show. You are the listeners. You are the ones that are actually the whole reason. You are the lifeblood of this show. You're the whole reason I'm doing this. So, don't feel like you can't call in, you can't get involved. That is the whole entire purpose of this show, for people to get on the move. So, with that said, feel free to call in. If you have something that's on your mind, that's important to talk about, call in. The number is 619-924-0986, 619-924-0986. Today we don't have a guest for the second hour, so just so you know, if there are no calls, this show will last as long as you guys want it to. So anyway, so moving on here, we have other news. Like I said before, I wasn't even going to cover the whole Duck Dynasty topic today, because there's so much stuff going on in the news that we should be paying attention to. But before we move on, I have to address a few other controversies that are going on in the news. Megyn Kelly of Fox News has been under fire lately, and she reported that both Jesus and Santa are white. Okay, so anyway, it was suggested that I weigh in on this, and again, I wasn't going to weigh in on this because this is kind of a fake controversy as far as I'm concerned. I don't really care about this, but here is the clip of what she said, and you can judge for yourself. Here you go.
In Slate, they have a piece on .com. Santa Claus should not be a white man anymore. And when I saw this headline, I kind of laughed, and I thought, this is so ridiculous. Yet another person claiming it's racist to have a white Santa, And by the way, for all you kids watching at home, Santa just is white, but this person is just arguing that maybe we should also have a black Santa. But, Santa is what he is, and just so you know, we're just debating this because someone wrote about it, kids. Okay, I want to get that straight. Just because it makes you feel uncomfortable doesn't mean it has to change. Jesus was a white man too, but it's like, he was a historical figure. That's a verifiable fact, as is Santa. I just want the kids watching to know that. Yeah. But my point is, how do you just revise it, in the middle of the legacy of the story and change Santa from white to black?
Yeah. You can't. You can't take facts and then try to change them to fit some sort of a political agenda or a sensitivity agenda.
Okay, so that is what she said. That's where the controversy was sparked. So, I'm not going to comment on whether or not, what I think the color of their skins were, because honestly, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I'm sure, people can speculate. In fact, I've seen some speculation. Some people have correlated that because of the region, he may have been Arab-looking. As far as Jesus, he may have been Arab-looking. And then they even went on to speculate that Santa, there is historical fact that St. Nicholas was founded through Turkey. I don't know if any of this is accurate. I have no idea. I am not weighing in on this. But what I do want to do is mention the fact again that censorship is rearing its ugly head once again. I've heard calls for Megyn Kelly to be taken off the air because of what she said. I've even heard talk on Facebook about how Fox News should be outlawed. You all know how I feel about censorship, so I'm not going to harp on this, but I will leave you with this quote from Thomas Jefferson. When tyranny becomes law, resistance becomes duty. if our press was ever restricted, our free press was ever restricted, it would not only become a right for us to break those laws, it's our obligation. We have a press for a reason. There's so much stuff going on where the government is attempting to restrict and regulate us and take away our freedoms and usurp power for their own. But one of the things that I have a problem with right now is what they're doing to our free press. They're trying to say that bloggers and people like me and people like citizen journalists such as Adam Kokesh and other people who are doing the same kind of thing that I'm doing, other podcasters, people who are trying to report news, we aren't journalists. Who determines who the real press is? If we start allowing them to say, oh, you're the real press, these guys are fake press, who determines who gets the actual First Amendment protection of freedom of press? It shouldn't be anybody. Anybody who wants to report on something, those are press. They have the same First Amendment freedom of press that anyone else does. Why is it so dangerous for someone to say that this person is or is not real press? Because at that point, we start having somebody appointed the power to say, you're not real press, you are real press. And that means that we're only opening up the door for them to take away our rights. Freedom of press is a big deal. Freedom of press is one of the most important things because it allows us to keep our government in check. If we can report on things, we can report that the government is in check. Without freedom of the press, we're just listening to government-sanctioned propaganda. We have basically government-sanctioned propaganda going on right now in regards to presidential access. This administration was supposed to be the most open. They started out saying that they were going to be the most open, administration that we've ever seen. Was that the case? No. Right now, our reporters can't even take pictures of the president. They're getting locked down, and the only actual pictures that are allowed to be released are pictures that the White House photographer is taking, and then he forwards it to the press, and they can post it. But we're not even allowed to take pictures of our president. Again, we had the H.R. 347 that passed, and it made it so it was illegal for us to protest outside of or anywhere that the Secret Service is present. We are giving our politicians and our government more and more isolation from us. They're becoming more and more insulated from our our oversight. And they're getting further and further away from us, and it's because of us allowing them to do this kind of stuff. They're considering themselves an elite upper class, a elite ruling class that differs from us. They can and are exempting themselves from laws. I was saying just today that this exact same conversation happened, and one of the things that I was talking about was how Washington in many other states just have this law just like it, but it's where you're not allowed to talk on your cell phone while driving. But we have an exemption for our law enforcement officers who are out there driving around talking on a cell phone. And the reason why they said it is because it's no different than using the radio, the CB radio. And so why, if they're allowed to use that radio, why aren't they allowed to talk on their cell phone? Well, the reason is because we aren't allowed. They don't have special rights. They don't have exemptions. At least they shouldn't. They work for us. We don't work for them. They are our public servants. They're not public officials. They're public servants. And they shouldn't be exempted, from any laws. And anyway, that's how I feel about it. Excuse me. Okay, so as far as other things that are happening to our press is actually being spied on by the NSA. The Associated Press has had so many things taken from them, and we have reporters such as the reporter who leaked Edward Snowden's information. He's being looked at for prosecution. So I actually have here a clip from the show The Young Turks, where they're talking about the prosecution that has been suggested of Glenn Greenwald. So here it is, and I'll be right back.
Peter King has decided that Glenn Greenwald and other reporters who might actually report on what our government is up to are very, very dangerous. So let's hear from the good congressman from New York, but in fact, it's of course the horrible congressman from New York.
Actually, if they willingly knew that this was classified information, I think action should be taken, especially on something of this magnitude. I know that the whole issue of leaks has been gone into over the last month, but I think something on this magnitude, there is an obligation, both moral but also legal, I believe, against a reporter disclosing something which would so severely compromise national security.
We're going to start taking actions against reporters. If you put someone like Glenn Greenwald in jail for doing his job, journalism, which, by the way, reporting on classified information is perfectly legal. So I don't know under what law Peter King thinks he can go after Glenn Greenwald. Okay, but if you put him in jail, it is a clear sign to all the other journalists, you're not allowed to do journalism anymore. If you have a leak, you have a source, we're going to arrest you and put you in jail. So they're not only destroying the Fourth Amendment by their, searches and seizures that are not specific to individuals, but that are a big dragnet, but they would also be destroying the First Amendment. So let's let this, again, I call him a congressman, but keep in mind with Peter King, a judge once declared him to be an obvious advocate for the IRA, which was a terrorist organization. So this man who's been judged in so many different ways and pretty much bragged about it, to be connected to a terrorist organization, now happens to be a congressman, a U.S. congressman, and he's talking about how other people are endangering national security. So let's let him continue.
I'm talking about Greenwald. Greenwald, not only did he disclose this information, he has said that he has names of CIA agents and assets around the world, and they're threatening to disclose that. The last time that was done in this country, we saw a CIA station chief murdered in Greece. When you have someone who's disclosed secrets like this and threatens to release more, then that, to me, yes, there has to be legal action should be taken against him. This is a very unusual case with life and death implications for Americans.
Peter King is a notorious liar. Glenn Greenwald has never said that he's going to reveal the names of CIA agents across the world. Completely and utterly made up by Peter King. So he goes out there and what does he say? Oh, once an agent died in Greece. And Greenwald died in Greece. Greenwald, life and death. Oh my, we got to go get him. We have to arrest him. There's no life and death situation here. He's a reporter. If you arrest Glenn Greenwald under this insane theory, and by the way, if he says this is life and death, and hence we can arrest reporters if it's a life and death issue, on every national security issue, they would arrest a reporter. On every single one. If this qualifies, all of them do. And then journalism in this country is dead. And that's exactly what people like Peter King want. And remember, a judge said that he was an obvious collaborator with the IRA. This guy, there isn't a single person in government more connected to terrorism than Peter King. And now he turns around as if he's the protector against terrorism, and he threatens to destroy our Constitution. Apparently he's never believed in it in the first place, to take out the First and the Fourth Amendment as he targets his enemies. Enemies of the state. If they actually let you know what the government's up to, people like Peter King, well, that's very dangerous. It's not dangerous to the American people. We live in a democracy. We should know what our government's up to. It's dangerous to people in power like Peter King. That's why the people opposing them must be locked up. One more.
Do you think that Glenn Greenwald should be prosecuted for what's been released so far? I think you probably aren't causing much controversy if you're just talking about this guy potentially going out there and revealing names of covert agents across the world and compromising their security and their lives. But what about for what he's done so far?
I would say it should certainly be considered. And the reason I say that is it's putting American lives at risk. This is clearly done, I believe, to hurt Americans. And to allow this to go on untrammeled, to me, it's going to have great consequences for the United States. But I'm tying the two together. That, to me, shows his motivation.
What would be the proof that this guy's trying to hurt America? I think Glenn Greenwald will say, I was trying to help America.
Well, first of all, he's not. And secondly, the very fact that he says, to me, what shows his intent is with him saying that he's threatening to release the name of CIA agents. There's no way that helps the United States. And that, to me, shows his motivation.
So he says he's trying to help America. No, he's not. Oh, I guess it's settled then. Okay. And he's not trying to release the names of the CIA agents. You made that up. And even Megyn Kelly on Fox News was like, okay, that was some nonsense hypothetical. How about this situation that actually exists on this story? Well, it's really harmed American interests. Really? How? Can you name one way that it's harmed American interests? No, but it harmed my interests, so please lock that guy up. And by the way, right now, Glenn Greenwald is free, and he has not been locked up. Peter King has not gotten his wishes, right? But the American government, according to reliable reports, is considering arresting, if they can, Julian Assange, indictments, etc. Now, Julian Assange took classified information that was given to him by a leak, by a source, and published it. And everybody said, oh, Julian Assange, he's not a reporter, he doesn't count. You think they're not going to count him? If Assange is arrested and then convicted in the U.S., what's going to stop the government from turning around and saying, well, look, Assange took classified information and published it. Greenwald took classified information and published it. The Washington Post took classified information and published it. Let's arrest them all. And that's exactly the point. Because what they're trying to do is kill investigative journalism overall, so we never find out what our government's up to.
Okay, so that was the Young Turks talking about the prosecution potential of Glenn Greenwald. He isn't being prosecuted right now. Hopefully he never does. But anyway, I have a listener email here from Ellen in Wyoming. She says, I think we need another part of the puzzle. We have no idea what is in the contract that was signed by the Robinson family with the A&E network. She's referring to the Duck Dynasty controversy we were talking about before. If a contract states that they are not to discuss their beliefs, and they do, the network has a legal right to suspend the person that violates that contract. In doing that, the network will take the chance of losing their viewers. Okay, so though I do understand what you're talking about with a legal right, if they signed a contract, and you're right, we have absolutely no idea what their contract looks like. We don't even know anything about it. I'm sure the information may or may not be out there. I don't know. But what I will say is that from my knowledge, and I'm not a constitutional lawyer, I'm not a contract lawyer, but from what I do understand, you can't enter into a contract that is in violation of a law. So they can't sign away their right to freedom of speech, their right to express their political beliefs, their sexual orientation, because that would, and then be fired for doing that, because that would still be a breach of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You can't sign that away. That's a law. Just because the employers, have something that you can sign, if they were stipulating that kind of stuff, that doesn't necessarily mean that will be upheld in court. It's very likely that it wouldn't. For example, if I was your employer, I couldn't have you sign some kind of sexual assault clause where I can sexually assault you whenever I want because you signed this thing. No, there's laws against that kind of thing, and on top of which, to sign a contract could technically be considered coercion, that they felt like they needed to do it in order to get the job and in order to all these things. Regardless, it could be fought in court. I do understand where you're coming from, but I still think there's a lot of legal precedents that would go against them having a contract that would specifically negate their rights, because the beautiful thing about our inherent human rights is that they're unalienable, which means that they can't be taken away. You can't even give them away if you wanted to. That's the beauty of it. I can't give away my right of free speech. It's there. I'll always have that right. It's innate. I was born with it. I'll die with it. Now, I may not be asserting that right, and the government may not recognize that right, but that right's still there nonetheless, and it will always be there. Anyway, at this point, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. I appreciate you guys hanging in with me, and we'll be back in about another minute.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
All right, we're back. Okay, so we have some listeners calling in here. If you're on the line right now, I really appreciate you guys calling in, and I will do my best to get to everyone today. And if you're calling in, you're going to be on the air. So, with the exception of the people who I know are on the line right now just listening. So, anyway, I have here Alton White. He is with the Whig Party. He wanted to give his 2 cents on some of the issues that we're talking about. Are you there, Alton?
Yes, I am.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. And how are you this great Sunday evening?
I'm doing outstanding. Thanks for asking. So you wanted to give us your opinion on some of the topics. So what were you interested in talking about?
Well, what you were actually talking about earlier the last time, really, is when was the last time your party, your representative, whether it be senator, state, or national, actually represented you?
Yeah,
when was the last time that they actually listened to you?
That's a very good question. The only way that we actually can get anyone to listen to us is to, have a grassroots wave. I would say that one of the last times that my opinion was heard anytime was when Ted Cruz was doing everything he could to fight Obamacare to get that repealed. With that said, though, it didn't happen. So,
right.
but I'm assuming you have a point.
What I'm saying is, though, a lot of your representatives, when I say representatives, I'm talking about congressmen, senators, any elected official, because they're supposed to be representing the people. The representatives that belong to either the Democratic or the Republican Party, I'm not just going to say one or the other, mm-hmm. They owe loyalty to the parties.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't really owe loyalty to the people.
Mm-hmm.
So if the party says you will vote this way, they're going to vote that way.
Typically you see that 9 times out of 10, every now and then, when these people are in a position where maybe it's a liberal issue or something, and they're in a kind of a moderate swing state or something. You see the Republicans, will not vote for that, or the Democrats won't vote for it. Depending on what they think that, especially if they're up for like an election year or something. We can see that, and we can actually use those kind of moments to hold their feet to the fire, and hopefully the apathetic, on the opposing sides of our issues don't speak up, and the people that actually do care about what's going on will speak up, and
right.
That's how we affect change.
Right. Well, what I'm also trying to bring up is when, instead of just the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. Now, if you notice, there's fractions in them, in between the Tea Party and the Blue Dog Democrats. They're breaking this stuff apart.
Yeah.
If you look, and most people had never even heard of the Tea Party, other than when one of the first founding political parties in this whole country. It was the party of Lincoln before
Absolutely.
the Civil War broke it apart.
One thing I'd like you to talk about. From what I understand, you're part of the Whig Party. First of all, can you explain what the Whig Party is, and then your affiliation with them?
Well, what the Whig Party is like I said, it's called now the modern Whig Party for the whole country. What it is more of a centrist. When I say we're conservative liberals or liberal conservatives, however you like to put it. Mm-hmm. We don't dictate policy. We don't tell people how to believe. We actually say, listen, let's look at these issues and let's come to a consensus on how things work. we're actually registered and registering throughout the country as an actual political party, not a movement like the Tea Party.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you can actually vote.
If you go to, in some states, yes. Matter of fact, we have just elected in Pennsylvania it was a county seat, a Whig Party member.
Okay. All right. So you're not actually attached to the Republican Party like the Tea Party is, right?
That's correct. We are a completely independent party, and we actually run both sides, whether somewhat liberal, somewhat conservative. We're when I say centrist, we don't mean we're right down the middle, like on issues of abortion and things like that. We're not saying we're pro this or pro that. A lot of it's individual choices. We discuss the issues, we bring it up, and we don't tell a person that's running for office what you have to believe in.
Okay, so here's my question to you. Let me run down some issues. You tell me what you guys stand for, just so I have a good idea what I can wrap my head around here. Are you guys this or that? I know labels are hard to do, but let's go ahead and label the Whig Party here. Okay, so as far as the Second Amendment, what do you guys feel about that?
Okay, let me actually, like I said, remember I talked about each person has their own thing. But what I'm going to do is actually, if people can go to the actual Whig Party website.
Okay.
And from there, it would, I'm going to explain it here. I'm not trying to, get away from that. But you can actually read a lot more from the Whig Party website, which is Modern Whig, MODERNWHIG, one word, .org.
Okay.
There.
All right, yeah.
Everybody
go check that out. Get educated on what he's talking about. But yeah, we'll talk about
and I'll go over these issues with you.
Okay.
Sure, that's not a problem.
Yeah, there's no way we don't have time in the show to cover everything. But I just, my curiosity here. I have heard of the Whig Party. I literally know nothing about it, so I'm kind of interested. Being a conservative libertarian myself, it's kind of this. From what you're explaining, I'm fiscally conservative and socially liberal. I kind of look at like. I'm a liberal in the terms of an old school liberal, a classical liberal. I believe in freedom. I believe in rights, human inherent rights, and that's kind of where I fall on. So as far as gun control, where does the Whig Party stand on gun control?
Okay, I'm just going to go right here in the Second Amendment. We support the Second Amendment right to bear arms. The general viewpoint is the states can regulate firearms to whatever their local values dictate. But these regulations must be reasonable, and they can't be, overly costly, over the top, prohibitive, because it's going to violate the constitutional right of a person to bear arms.
Okay, so as far as the Whig Party stance on so-called assault rifles with 30-round magazines or drum clips or whatever, what do you feel? What do you got? I mean, if you don't know what the policy is for the whole party, what is your personal take on it?
Okay, well, my personal take is I have a few weapons of my own. When I say a few, I have a shotgun, a pistol, and I have a multiple of muskets and things. I don't have a Thompson machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just give you a little bit of background. I have 36 years military.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for your service.
36. Well, no problem. So I'm not afraid. Guns are not like, oh my God, it's against the law, and I believe everybody has the right to defend themselves, and it comes a time that we may be able to use these things. When the founding fathers made these laws for the Constitution, it was needed because sometimes we have to defend ourselves from the government. And we do believe that there comes a time that everybody should be able to defend their rights and property in person. Now, saying that, I don't believe everybody needs to have a 203 grenade launcher. I don't think everybody needs to have a machine gun. There comes to a point of overkill.
Okay, well, from what I understand, if that is that the party take or is that your personal belief?
That was my personal belief. I gave you the party line, and when I say party line, but let me tell you what our party believes in. We don't, if we have an issue that somebody disagrees with, that we don't shut them out. We actually go in there and debate within ourselves over issues, and talk about it and come to some kind of consensus where it makes sense. See, we're trying to be common sense on all these issues.
I see. Well,
we're not going to go so. Yeah.
Here's where you and I disagree. Okay, if you're a listener of the show, you probably know by now where I stand on firearms. But if not, let me just tell you, I don't believe that any gun law is in fact constitutional or in respect of our inherent rights. I think it's a little bit of a fantasy to think that we can trust a government that is not accountable through force. And what I mean by that is, I'm not a big fan of like, resistance or not resistance, but revolutionary movements or anything like that. I'm the last person to call for that because, I'm sorry, say that again?
Right. No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm the last person to call for any kind of like revolution of some sort because I think that we don't have the ability to fight. I can see, the writing's on the wall. If we actually tried to do something, the hammer would come down before anything even got started. And number one, it's because we've allowed our rights to be usurped and power has been taken. And a lot of this is because of ignorance. A lot of this is because of apathy. But at the same time, we don't have anything even close to the firepower that the United States government can have. Now,
I agree. I'm not looking to overthrow the government. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form. But,
and neither am I. But what I'm saying, though, is that it's important for us to have the ability to. And I think that's why the Second Amendment was put there almost, and it was even an afterthought. They weren't even going to put it in there to begin with. But the Second Amendment was put in the Constitution as a hedge against tyranny to ensure that they can't disarm us. But they practically have anyway because they've limited what we can do and how we can fight. They can have Abrams tanks and Predator drones, and we can have, in New York, we can only have, I think, 5-round magazines. That's ridiculous. How is that not an infringement of our right to bear arms?
Oh, I don't disagree with you there in almost every aspect of it. I'm just saying to the point of having when I say, I don't think I need an Abrams tank myself personally or, a 203 grenade launcher. But the right to defend yourself is the basic right of every individual. I understand that totally. And doing it, but within reason. Because honestly, though, I don't care what you make legal or illegal. If you say it's illegal to have a pea shooter, people are going to have it whether it's against the law or not.
Absolutely. All you do when you prohibit something is you create an underground market for it.
Well, you're also going to take away the people that want to obey the law, that are law-abiding citizens. You're going to take away their right to be able to defend themselves against the criminals that don't care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because by definition, they are criminals and they don't care about the law. So,
that's right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Give me another topic.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, Second Amendment. You and I personally don't see eye to eye, but maybe I'll do some more research on the Whig Party.
Well, we do somewhat. I think we do. I mean, I believe in the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms.
Do you believe that I should be allowed to have an Abrams tank or a Harrier jet in my backyard?
If you can afford one, I need to come talk to you.
Yeah. I'm just saying though. That's the point though. Is that I believe that the more people that are armed, the more firepower each person has, the more accountable that the government is going to be, and on top of that, the more polite our society is going to be in general. Because an armed society is a polite society.
Well, like I said, there's a difference between when I say personally and what I say is the Whig Party issue.
Absolutely.
But there's the thing, the Whig Party doesn't restrict you from saying something, but if you go so far off of one side or the other, they're going to say, hey, that's not our party line, which they can say that, but they're not going to necessarily kick me out unless I just go completely crazy.
Yeah. And
you know what I'm saying.
And what I'm talking about is obviously like the extreme end of gun rights. And I know that my point of view is a bit extreme, but I just take the literal interpretation of the Second Amendment and in the terms of thinking that, obviously it's a hedge against tyranny. That's why, we had a militia that was fighting the British Army, and we have to have the same kind of weapons that can be used to defend themselves that we're being attacked with. So obviously I know that I'm a little bit on the extreme end, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that, and I definitely know it's a hot button issue and very divisive. But I was just curious where the Whig Party falls in that. So, as far as other issues, though, so let's move on. What's another issue that you can think of that you want to talk about as far as the Whig Party?
I'm looking at. I got a whole list that we could talk about: same-sex relationships, social tolerance, income tax, immigration. You get me on immigration, and I'll go off on the crazy on you.
All right. Well, let's talk about same-sex, because we were just talking about it in the debate today as far as Duck Dynasty and everything. So, what does the Whig Party feel? How do they feel in regards to same-sex marriage?
Okay, let me give you, like I said, I'm going to give you what like I said, the party line stuff, which is, when I say party line, there is no hard line, because right now I'm going to go over what I tell you, and then I'll even give you how much they agree with disagree.
Okay.
Here's again, each state can determine the extended rights of the same-sex couples based on their own local values. We do, however, support classifying as a federal hate crime attacks against people of their perceived sexual orientation. We have 39% people agreed with that, 6% disagreed, and 4% said we're not sure. And there's 29% there should be some modification of that too. And I'm just giving you right out of off the website and stuff, and because I don't want to misquote or missay anything if it's strictly party related.
Absolutely.
Now, personally related, as a member of the Whig, in the middle of the Whigs, I'm kind of trying to do some stuff here in Georgia, with the Whigs. What you do in your house is your business. What you do in my house is my business.
Okay. Do you feel like the government should have an involvement in marriage and saying who can and can't get married?
No.
Okay. So the government shouldn't be involved.
There comes a point in time, but I don't need the government to tell me how to live my life or intrude into my bedroom or intrude into my house. That's not the government's job to do that. The government of the United States government, basic fundamental part of the national government, to deal with interstate trading and to deal with treaties and, when I say international agreements.
Okay.
It should not have a lot to do with what goes on inside my state necessarily, not even my house.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, the federal government, in my opinion, it was only created historically because they needed to establish a mutual protection pact and to establish mutual trade between the colonies. That was the biggest problem. They were fighting to the point of where the actual colonies were at the point of breaking up because they couldn't establish mutual trade. They were restricting other countries. It was causing a lot of problems. So I totally agree. The federal government shouldn't really be imposing its will on the state government. So you're for the right of two consenting adults to get married or do whatever they want without the government involvement, right? To including the state involvement, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well let me ask you then. How do you feel about polygamy and the laws prohibiting multiple people from getting married because those are consenting adults?
Well, if you also notice that it's actually a state-by-state thing. Mm-hmm. Now that I think Utah has actually just changed that, too.
Utah changed their polygamy law?
Oh, you better look. Yes, it just came out this last week here where they actually had to go back in and say, hey, they have to kind of undo what was done. You got to remember, when Utah was founded under Joseph Smith, it was a polygamous, region.
Yeah, well, as far as I've understood it, and maybe I'm out of date on this topic here, but it's being looked at by the Supreme Court. As far as I understand it, it's still in effect. There's still anti-polygamy laws on the books, but they are being looked at it now. And this is what we had heard would happen, obviously, when you allow gay marriage. And I'm not saying I'm against gay marriage. I'm for gay rights. I don't care what you do. As long as you're not affecting me, I really don't care what you do. But it is fact that now polygamy laws are going to be looked at now because you start talking about equal rights for people to get married. And so if this group of people can get married, now this group of people can get married, what stops you from saying that multiple people can get married or even, brother and sister can get married? I mean, this is when you start talking about this in terms of are we allowed to be the social and moral authority of who can and can't get married? That's what it led to. So anyway, it's a good conversation. I really appreciate it. I'm about ready to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Do you mind holding over for a few minutes, for a minute or so?
I'll be glad to.
Okay, thank you. I'll be right back.
Support On the Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
And we're back. When we last left, we were talking to Alton White, member of the Whig Party, and we were discussing the issues. So, are you there, Alton?
Okay. What I'm going to bring up right here, I can give to you from ABC, CBS, NPR. It said last week a Utah judge struck down a key part of the Utah's anti-polygamy statute, clearing the way for cohabitation between multiple spouses.
Okay, yeah, I stand corrected then. As last I heard that it was just being fought. So if that's what it says, then I'll do my own research and come back to it. But you know what?
No
you
problem.
got me right now. But yeah, so
our job as the Whig Party is not to tell people what to think or how to vote, but we're going to give them information. We're going to try to talk to people and be, understanding. You got to have some common sense thinking. You can't go too, I'm going to say you can't go so far to the left or so far to the right that you're blinded by, reality of life.
Yeah, one problem that we have in this country is blind following of a party, period. I honestly don't care who is up for election. I'm going to look at what they stand for, what they say, but more importantly, what they do. What have they voted for? Do they vote in stark contrast to my beliefs? Did they vote for the NDAA? If they do, or if they did, there's no freaking way I'm voting for that person. And I don't care who they are. If they're Libertarian or Republican or Democrat, I don't care.
Right. Well, that's why we're trying to really start bringing the Whig Party back up. To actually, people have other choices, and the choice is not going to be, the same as Republicans or Democrats or Blue Dog, Democrats or Tea Party Republicans. A Republican is still going to be a Republican, even to the party line to a point. Mm-hmm. Alan, I used, like I said, I saw a lot of the things that Alan West did, and he, of course, was Tea Party all the way. But when it came to some votes, he had to kind of go with the party line on some things.
Yeah. Yeah, I
understand.
That's
what I'm saying. He become obligated when you become a political party member of either Democrat or Republican, that party actually, gave them they gave you the blessing. You are obligated to them to some extent.
Well, we see that it's possible to break from the party lines, and all we have to do is look at Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Mike Lee, all their conservative movement actions that they've been doing. I mean, they're going directly in opposition to the establishment Republican Party. And, I guarantee you, come time for their reelection, they're not going to get as many donations as they would under from the Republican National Party. But you know what? I don't think it's going to be a problem, because I do think that the majority of the American people, especially Republican voters, are not only, they're going to start actually donating to individual campaigns, because a lot of campaigning has gone on to do that. They're also going to donate to conservative funds, like they've been trying to push as well. And I think that more people are going to be inspired. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Here's the thing I'm going to bring up to you, though. If, okay, Ted Cruz is part of the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
For him to get the nomination again in his district as a Republican, the Republican Party is going to have to give him they're going to have to give him their blessing. If he steps on them too much, he's not going to get their blessing, and he's going to have to run as an independent.
Do you know who's responsible for giving that blessing? Is that a vote in the Republican Party itself, or is it the Republican National Convention, or how does that work?
Actually, if you go by county, district by district, state by state, every state has a Republican Party. Every local area, a Senate district or a House representative, has a Republican committee.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the ones that, if you're running for a state senator or you're running for a state senator is, normally covered by the whole state. A district representative is covered by whichever district they come from. The Republican Party of those districts are the one that pass it up to the state, and the state approves it, So it's a whole bureaucratic thing within their own party.
Is that voted on through the voters, or is that voted on through the establishment members of Congress or whoever's in the party already?
Well, it doesn't matter if they're already in or not. Like, once the party is going to give the blessing. That's when they do all these preliminaries. The primaries.
Okay, all right. So that's exactly what I'm talking about, though.
But the party is going to push one or the other above anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think that they're going to be successful in eliminating opposition views like Mike Lee, Rand Paul, and Ted Cruz, because first of all, the popularity, the amount that they've inspired people. People aren't inspired by people who have a do-nothing attitude, who are defeatist before fights already start. People are inspired. People have become inspired to do something and actually go out and vote for these people.
Well, you're right in one way. I'm not trying to put the people down.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is the party will put them down. And the party will. You'll be surprised how much a political party as a whole will have when it comes to national type elections.
Well, they've already been doing everything in their power to shut up Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Mike Lee, and just get them to toe the party line, and they're not listening. And I think that's going to win them the support of the people, and I don't think it's possible for them to take them off a ballot. People just write them in, because people are inspired. People want to hear somebody actually stand up and stop towing the party line.
But here's the difference. What I'm trying to promote, too, is that there is another alternative as we're starting to grow the Whig Party.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Whig Party is, when I say a centrist party, when I say centrist, not of a century, centrist, more of a midline group, that we're not all this, we're not all that. We actually look at sides and both sides and decide, hey, I don't see you're wrong on this. I don't see you're right on this. And we're willing to, look at other options. We've got to break some of this two-party system that's out there. Because, you hear bipartisanship that's in the government. You're Democrat. It's not going to keep working this way.
Yeah, well, George Washington, he was actually against the two-party system. He didn't want it to be established from the beginning. So, I tend to agree with you. At some point, something has to change. My question to you, sir, would be when, if ever, do you suspect that a third-party candidate will ever obtain the office of the presidency? By what year would you see it happening?
Well, I'm going to say that's really hard to tell, because the strange thing is I can have 500 people in my community stand up and go, yeah, but that's, in my community, my state, my this. Mm-hmm. Here's something I'm trying to push hard within the Whig Party itself and, using social media and all that. Okay, do you know that during a presidential election, we're talking the big ones,
mm-hmm.
that, we have approximately 238 million registered voters in this country, that
mm-hmm.
only 58% of these people vote. That leaves 98 million people that sit there and say, my vote don't count, I'm not even going to care.
Well, how many registered independents are there in that group?
Well, I'm just going as a whole right for the moment.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, okay, let's say in my state of Georgia, which is almost, considered a red state, except for Atlanta, Albany, Savannah, the big cities. But it's all red. So some people in the area said, well, we know that this candidate is going Republican, so I'm not even going to vote. Do you know in the last couple of elections, the election was won by 5 million people?
Well, so, one of the biggest deterrents for people to come out and vote is when they start looking at the candidates involved and they can't see a difference between them. That's why Ronald Reagan he's quoted having said, and I think I played it on the last podcast, his speech where he was talking about how the Republicans need to be the party of a bold color difference, and that's why it's important for even third parties to have a bold difference than what the other parties are out there. That way that people can see what's out there. They need to brand themselves for whatever issues they stand for. That way people can actually see where they differ from Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, or all the other independent parties out there, such as Green Party and all that other stuff. So it was a great call, Alton. I really appreciate it. I got some other calls that I want to get to here.
All right. I'm going to ask any of your listeners and yourself if you take just a little bit of time and either go to GeorgiaWig.org, which is my state, or you can go to the national site, which is the ModernWig.org website. Just take a look. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but if you don't look and we don't know what we're talking about, we're going to fight the same fight that of darkness.
Hey, I appreciate what you're doing, Alton. I will personally look into this myself, and I highly recommend everybody else does. Is there anything else that you'd like to plug, Alton?
Well, anytime, for you personally on your show, anytime you need somebody, if you need someone to come in and talk, or, if they come on and talk, give me a call. I'll give you, I'll give you the address and my email and everything. You already got it.
Yeah, I got your email that you sent me earlier.
I just want the American people to understand that it's we the people in the United States that make a difference. The president doesn't have the power.
Absolutely.
The Congress and Senate where the power lies, and the people that put these people there, and they got to remember that the people have the power, not the people that's in Washington. But we put them there, and we have no one else to blame but who we put there.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And thank you so much for your call, Alton, and thank you again for your service to our country.
No problem. It was an honor to serve.
All righty, sir. You have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for calling in, Alton. All right, so I have here another caller on the line. His name is Josh. We like to call him Cowboy Josh. He is a regular on the show. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Good show.
I appreciate it. I'm not sure. I hear an echo in the background. I don't know if you got it playing in the background. You may want to turn the volume down a little bit.
It's probably the room I'm in. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go out to a different room. But,
okay, so everything we were talking about today is on the table. What do you have on your mind today, sir?
I just wanted to recap and give my viewpoint on all of what was said today. Starting in order about the Phil Robinson thing. In my opinion, someone had said about the contract, I do agree that if there was terms in the contract constricting or restricting religious speech or freedom of speech on certain topics within the show, that would violate some of the laws that you talked about. That doesn't mean that contract doesn't exist. We don't know. All I know is the bottom line is that I felt the A&E didn't respect his freedom of speech, and that's what we've lost in the culture. We're starting to lose the respect of freedom of speech in some of the political realms, and some of the apparently some of the news and media has a problem with respecting other people's free speech and freedom of expression. That's the bottom line with that subject. We have to respect. I mean, it's protected under the First Amendment. Respect the First Amendment and what it protects, and we'll be all good. We won't have this division. It's all about division. Divide and conquer.
And I totally agree with that. We have to support, and even if we don't agree with it, we have to support someone's right to disagree with us, because otherwise we just limit ourselves.
And I don't agree with all of what Phil said. I do understand some of what he said, and I do understand that he was quoting a section of the Bible. And I adhere to a lot of the moral gestures of the Bible, but I don't agree with his stance. But that's fine. I respect it. To move on to other subjects, the Second Amendment subject, I'm with you on that, Mack. That's so true. They are restricting our rights through state legislation, and I do agree with the other guy. They have the right, but maybe we need to amend something. We need to figure out within the states what's going on to where we can change to where the curriculum for restricting people at the city and county level, because we are insufficient on the terms of matched power with the powers that be. Even just
that's where I think you and I disagree slightly, because unless I'm misunderstanding what you said, from what I understood, you said that they have the right to infringe upon our right to bear arms, which, in my personal opinion, they have absolutely no right, because according to go ahead.
Legally, not morally, not like in reality, but what he was saying is legally, we all know that, like Washington, they can restrict, well, not in Washington, but in Oregon, for instance, they can restrict loaded carrier firearms in many cities. There's actually 6 cities in the state of Oregon that limit that. And that's just one small example of, in different states, it's up to the states to limit how much you have, what you have, as long as it doesn't override the Second Amendment, which is the right to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say anything about ammunition or none of that.
Well, my opinion on this, though, is that just because they have the legal authority to pass a law, that doesn't mean they have a right to pass that law. If it infringes upon an inherent human right, it doesn't matter what a piece of paper says. They're in stark contrast to what your God-given or natural-born innate rights are. So, and even on the Constitution, they're in stark contrast to that too. It says the right to bear arms shall be uninfringed. So, I mean, any gun law to that end is an infringement, and it's against the Constitution. So, and we're supposed to be a constitutional
That's what I'm saying.
republic.
I agree with you.
Okay, all right. That's my whole.
Revised on how that works. That's what I'm saying. It needs revised. That's one thing. One of the 1,000,001 things that we know about that needs, addressed. Overrule that or whatever. But so I agree with you. Because they have sound cannons. They're giving these ridiculously heavy armored vehicles, MRAVs they're called, DHS has them, to local police, local police departments and stuff for riot control and what have you, when most of the time we know it's not a riot. So there's so many things going on that can contribute to that one topic that I don't agree with.
I've seen videos of those MRAPs that you're talking about where they are hit with an IED and they flip over on their roof and they push them back and they drive away. These things are capable of withstanding bombs. So how in the world are we able to contend with anything even remotely like that? That there's no way that those things are far beyond our ability to fight with a 5-round magazine. And in New York, anything that's capable of accepting a magazine larger than 5 rounds is actually illegal. So what is that? I can't even, maybe it's certain kind of revolvers, that 5-round revolvers, some shotguns, but everything else is capable of taking some kind of amount of ammo above 5. How are we able to even hold a candle to the United States government in comparison to that when they have Predator drones, Abrams tanks, MRAPs? We can't compete with it.
It absolutely makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. It's all about control. Here's another thing. The guy had mentioned a R2 rocket or whatever, a handheld grenade launcher, or like you said, an M1A1. Most people, when you say, hey, I should be able to own an M1A1, they're going to think we're crazy. But guess what? How is it any different owning an M1A1 than owning a dump truck? They're both going to run over some stuff. How is it any different from M1A1 and a Barrett 50 cal, which in any state you can have that,
Well, at that point, you're just arguing semantics, and it's not that you're able to kill people, but it's how you're able to kill people, and the look and the intimidation factor that comes behind it. But hey, at this point, Josh, we're going to take one more quick break, and do you mind holding over?
No, I'll hold over. I got a point when we come back.
Okay, all right. I'll be right back.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. Okay, so I see here in the chat room that somebody said on the, this is Alton White. He said on the Second Amendment, it does not say that a convicted felon or mental patient cannot still carry. There has to have some limits. Okay, I can understand when you start talking about violent felons. Obviously, we don't want to put guns back into the hands of people that have actively used these weapons or used violence to hurt people. I totally understand that, and I agree. There should be some limits, but at the same time, when you start saying that it's okay to limit and infringe something, when we have something on the books that says, the right to bear arms shall be uninfringed, then we start saying, well, okay, this is okay, that's okay, this is okay, that's okay. In my opinion, if we all had guns, we would be very, very safe. Now, a lot of people will disagree, and I totally understand that it's not widely accepted, and I doubt it'll ever happen. Honestly, I would be really surprised if all gun control was repealed. And I also understand the need for mental patients to not have guns. But like I said, if you're not deemed mentally competent enough, or you've been deemed somebody who's has used in the past a weapon or violence to hurt somebody, then I can kind of understand why you would want that. But the issue is not necessarily to restrict convicted felons from getting firearms, but the effort should be made more so on keeping those violent offenders locked into jail. If we feel like they're able to pose a threat to society, then we shouldn't let them out, because in letting them out, we've told them that they've paid their debt to society. And if they've really and honestly paid their debt to society, then they should enter the society again as a full-fledged member of society. And if they're not capable of doing that, then they shouldn't be released back into society. And this goes hand in hand with the mentally ill people who are a threat to society. Perhaps they should be removed from society until that threat subsides. But alas, I digress. I was on the phone with Josh, a listener here, who has another comment he'd like to make. You there, Josh?
Yeah. I'd like to
make
my point on the contract, comparing a 50 cal to an M1A1. M1A1 has a huge, we know it can, blow up who knows what, a ton of stuff. But my point is, what is the difference between a responsible citizen owning a Barrett 50 cal, destructive weapon, a machine gun, which in many states you can with the special license, the Class 3 license, and the person is responsible, and they, people go their whole lives owning these types of weapons and never have a problem. There should be no difference. If it's a responsible person who's trusted, it's a weapon nonetheless.
Well, let me just clarify first of all. A 50 caliber, like a Barrett 50 cal, that's actually a sniper rifle. It's not a machine gun. But like a Ma Deuce, for example, we can, as citizens, get a Class 3 license and get a Ma Deuce machine gun. And you have to pass the background checks, and we have to get permission from the government to do to actually bear arms in this fashion. We have to get a license and all this stuff. And this is the thing that's funny, is that if it's a right, why do we need permission from the government? Why do we need a permission slip to do it?
Well, if you get a license through training, if you go through a training course and then receive a license that way, that's fine by me. I think it should be free myself, but and just something that says that you're responsible in the operation of that particular piece of equipment. Like if I was going to go get an M1 Abrams, I probably would want to go through a training course. I'm not going to, I don't think they should give us one, but I think we should have the right to own one. And they're not, but we do, but they're not. They're restricting it right now. Plain and simple.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, there's really, as far as the deadliness of it, there's really no difference between a gun and a car. I can kill you just as easily with a car as I could with a gun. Obviously, a lot. My opinion isn't a popular one. I know I'm a bit of an extremist, but I can't help the fact that I take the literal interpretation of the document, and I feel strongly about the actual Constitution, the words that were in it, and not only just that, not only just the document of the Constitution, but the actual inherent right that the government doesn't have the authority the legality to actually impose its will on me or you or anyone. Government's ruled by force, and I think it's kind of like we're entering into fairy tale land when we expect the government to actually respect our rights when we don't have any ability to basically control them through the same force that they threaten on us, because that's what government is it's the threat of force, it's coercion. So that's what government does. That's how every government in history has ever ruled, with the exception of the Roman Empire upon its creation, and it's how every government in history will continue to do it. And at first the United States was different. The more it goes, we see more and more where we're being coerced into what they want us to do, and they're usurping power and taking our rights.
Yeah, I agree. My bottom line point about the whole Second A thing is we are being deprived of our inherent right through laws and legislation that is unconstitutional and unnatural, point blank period, and they're building a monopoly of power against us. That's the reality of it. We are not on equal terms with entities of the federal government. That's period. That's the bottom line. So, in my opinion.
I understand where you're coming from, though. But yeah, as far as anything else we talked about, did you have any other topics on your mind?
Not particularly. I'm trying to think back over the show if I had any other points. The First Amendment, yeah, I do. The freedom of the press, that was brought up. I guess there's been someone saying that Fox should be shut down, and I'm sure there's people saying CNN and MSNBC or whatever it's called, MSNBC. The thing is, I don't wish one press outlet or another to be shut down, because that's protected under the First Amendment, period. I do care if they're lying. I don't appreciate lying. That's a moral code thing. That's deceiving and brainwashing that they do, but we can't shut them down. They're still protected under the First Amendment, because a lot of what they put out could be opinionated. And lately there's a huge attack on the alternate media, because they tend to be a lot more accurate. This has been shown. So there's a huge attack on alternate media right now. Obviously, you have the attack on Christianity and the Christmas season. There's a lot of things going on, and it all comes back to the First Amendment and the respect of it. The First Amendment it's being under attack. It's under attack. They've kind of, the agenda at hand, the kind of movement at hand that we're trying to fight back against has moved from last year, or the beginning of this year per se, from trying to get the Second Amendment. Now they're moving to the First Amendment. You can see the
absolutely.
shift.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I see where you're coming from. You know, they're actively trying to shut down the media and take control. And like I said, and I know you've said this before, it's all about control, and that's ultimately what it is. But hey, Josh, I'm going to go ahead and take the last 10 minutes here. I got to wrap up and cover some other issues here that I didn't have a chance to get to, and I really appreciate you calling in. And thank you again. I'm going to put you on mute so you can listen, or you can hang up. It's your call. So thank you again for calling in, man, and I hope you call in again. And everybody, like I said, that was Cowboy Josh. So again, thanks, Josh. So what I'd like to get to here is, I know we've been talking about all these controversies, so-called controversies. They could be considered fake. You may have missed the fact that the government is trying to ram through the latest reiteration of the National Defense Authorization Act. I know I kind of mentioned that earlier before. So what does the NDAA do? Well, it gives the authority to the President of the United States to deploy the U.S. military to apprehend and indefinitely detain any person, including an American citizen, who believes, or who he believes, the President believes, represents an enduring security threat to the United States. It also gives the government the authority to assassinate any person suspected of terrorism. So do you remember how last week I was saying how Congress likes to leave us Christmas presents at this time of the year? Well, this is it. Keep your eye on the ball, or we're going to lose everything, because this is actually trying to be rammed through at this time of year, you know, when no one's paying attention and we're being distracted by all these controversies. So what can we do? How can we stop this? Well, this leads me to the next segment of the show that we have here, and with that, we have a new audio. Hopefully this doesn't sound crappy, but here we go. I'm not sure why it's not playing here. I'm going to play something else, stop it, and then play it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and see you to the...
All right, here we go.
I challenge you to a duel. Did you hear that? Sounds like it's time for a challenge. I challenge you to a duel. Did you hear that? Sounds like it's time for a challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge.
Okay, so the audio here on Blog Talk is kind of messing up. I apologize. But anyway, so this is the listener challenge. This is what we're going to do at the end of every show if I have time for it. And your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to write to your congressman or woman, men or women, and demand that they oppose the National Defense Authorization Act. Let them know that their job depends on the opposition to this law and that you find it unjust. Tell them why. Do your own research on the law and make sure this happens. Hold these people accountable. Hold their feet to the fire. If they vote for it, get them out of there. They don't deserve to represent you because they're not representing you. Okay, so we got a few more minutes of the show here. We're going to talk about one last controversy here that's been in the news, and it's a Republican that has been, I think he's a representative. His name is Jack Kingston. He's been trying to push the topic of free lunch in our schools. He wants to basically have kids who are on the free lunch program sweep the floors for their lunch. That's what he was quoted as saying. But since then, he's recanted his statement and said that it should be for all students to sweep the floors before lunch in order to have a understanding of work ethic and get more work ethic in America. So this is not really the topic that I want to talk about in regards to a controversy. In my opinion, I think that we should get rid of the law in general that says kids get a free lunch from our tax money. And this isn't because I'm cruel. It's not because I want to take out food from the mouths of children, but it's because I don't think that we need the government to mandate our taxes go toward this. I have no problem with money going to feed children. I just think that we can accomplish this task without the government involved. I know I would have no problem donating at least once a quarter to help my local schools pay for lunch for their children that can't afford it. It's not the children's fault, and I know this, and I understand that. They could even send home a donation form with report cards. So I know we don't have a whole lot of time left in the show, but I just wanted to cover that, and I'm not going to be able to take any listener calls on that topic right here, right now on this show. but send me an email at onthemoveshow@gmail.com, and I'll read it, and I'll respond on the next show, live on the air. I'll read your email, or you can call in next show at 619-924-0986, 619-924-0986, and we can have a discussion about it, and we'll find out your opinion, and, maybe we'll disagree, maybe we won't, but, I also have some clips from him, from his specific interviews that he's given. Let me see if I have enough time in the show left to play that. We got 5 minutes or so here, and let me find that clip. Okay. Here I'll play a minute or two of it.
For the very latest. Chris.
There is no such thing as a free lunch, right? A Republican congressman from Georgia is under fire this morning for saying low-income children should have to work for the free meals they receive as part of the federal school lunch program. Take a listen to what Congressman Jack Kingston said.
Why don't you, have the kids pay a dime, pay a nickel to instill in them that there is, in fact, no such thing as a free lunch? Or maybe sweep the floor in the cafeteria. And yes, I understand that would be an administrative problem, and I understand that it would probably lose you money, but think what we would gain as a society in getting people, getting the myth out of their head that there is such thing.
All right, I don't think that's coming over very well. But anyway, what he said was he understands it's an administrative problem to have the kids sweep the floors. But the whole purpose of this meeting was that they were talking about how to instill work ethic in the children. And he's saying that he was taken out of context and that he actually meant that all children who are in the school should be working for their lunch. So anyway, give us your take. Email the show, onthemoveshow@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it next show. One last thing before we go here, I'd like to mention that there is a constitutional study group that's happening here in Vancouver, Washington. If you're interested and you'd like to join the study group, we have a Facebook group set up. It's facebook.com/groups/constitutional study group. So we're meeting once a month on Sundays, and you have all the information on there. If you have any questions about it and you'd like to do it and you're not on Facebook, email me at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. I'll send you all the information. And if you're looking to start your own group, your own study group, let me know, and I will help you get that set up. Again, onthemoveshow@gmail.com. So with that said, that's today's show. I really appreciate you guys listening and tuning in. Don't forget to check us out at onthemoveshow@gmail.com, here at blogtalkradio.com/onthemoveshow, facebook.com/onthemoveshow, youtube.com/onthemoveshow, and twitter.com/onthemoveshow. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, get on the move.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.